Now as good a time as any. Okay, so now is as good a time as any to tell you guys a story. So the story is about a young man who doesn't quite know what's going on in his life. He has graduated high school, he's into electronics and technology, and he decides that at this time in his life, he's still a little bit religious, and he still, unfortunately, believes in God, and so he goes and he joins the army. He goes and prays that Lord, just let me be, help me find my way, and I'll use the army to help me pay for my college and my along the way. And the problem is he is young. He's wet behind the ears. He doesn't know really what's up in life. He's fresh out of high school, and he thought the army would be the best way. Well, it was the only thing he had. He didn't come from a rich family. He came from a single parent family. He his This guy, he had a sort of a broken home, divorce in the home. He was raised by his mother, and he didn't have a lot of financial choices. I mean, he was raised on government cheese. His mother got food stamps because she didn't make enough money uh, doing all the jobs that she tried to do to feed them. And she worked. She worked as hard as she could. She worked a couple different jobs. She also worked in proofreading back in the days before computers. Revlon did desktop publishing. Before those days, when you still had to put these little metal blocks into the printer, run them over with ink, and then press them against the paper. Back in the day when manual printing was the thing, and there were these print shops everywhere that did this. And she was a proofreader for a long time, and she tried to raise this boy and try to give him the right moral compass and teach him the right way to be. Well, because he didn't have the financial opportunity and he wanted to learn things, he thought, I'll go in the military, I'll get the GI Bill, and that'll pay for my college. And things did not turn out the way he wanted to. I'll give you an example why. So one day, after his boot camp and all his training, he's on a field exercise with a whole bunch of other army soldiers, and they are in a camp. They're in a camp, and they have these vehicles that have radios in him. This guy decided that if he's going to go be in the military, he's going to learn a skill that might help him after. He's trying to think of the future, so he's thinking about what would be a good thing for him to learn. So he learns radio repair, and at the time, the military used this thing called uh, a military occupational specialty, or yeah, military occupational specialty. It's also called MOS for short. So he was his MOS was 31 Victor, which is a field level radio maintenance technician. This guy would crawl into any kind of military vehicle that had wheels or tracks or anything that had a radio in it, and he'd crawl inside it, and he would check the radios to make sure they were fully functioning. And if they're not fully functioning, pull them out, send them to depot. So one day they're on a field exercise, okay, and this guy, he's young, he doesn't know who he really is yet. He's still struggling to find who he is, and he's on a field exercise, and he's assigned to the camp where the officers are. Now, in the military, there are people who enlist, and then there's officers who go through an extra level of training, and they are like in charge of the enlisted officers. So this guy, he's a buck private, which means he's got this like one little stripe on his rank pip, his little rank insignia, just one little stripe, and he's assigned to a military commercial, a military setup where they have a whole bunch of radio vehicles and personnel carriers, and his job is to monitor the radios and work on the radios and just make sure everything stays hunky dory. So during this field exercise, there's a Humvee that goes out to a remote location. Now, this remote location is close enough to where we are getting continual. I'm sorry, he's receiving continual broadcasts on this one frequency from the MB in the Humvee. And the Humvee has what's called a hot mic, which means if you know CB radio, where you have to press down on a button on the side of the microphone to start transmitting, and then you release it to listen. Well, this Humvee has developed a short in the button, short circuit in the button that is transmitting. So this Humvee has a hot mic that's continually transmitting. It's locked onto this frequency, and no one else can use it. All we hear is the sound of what's going on in the Humvee. So I'm at I'll reveal I'm the guy in the story. I'm in the personnel carrier monitoring the radios. So there's a general there who has 4 stars on his uniform. He's a 4-star general. And he was very upset with me because he wanted to use the radio, and he wanted to say something on that radio to communicate with that Humvee and other people who are listening, because he's high up there. He's a general. He gives commands, and people are supposed to get it. He became upset that there was a Humvee out there that's transmitting permanently, blocking anyone else from using that particular frequency. And he yelled at this buck private to fix it. Now, here's the problem. The Humvee's in a distant location. I'm receiving the transmission. The problem's actually in the Humvee that's miles and miles away. And I can't fix that hot mic in there, because normally I'd swap out the mic and put a new one in, bam, test it, see if it stays hot, or if not, pull the whole radio, put another radio in. But this 4-star general reads me the riot act. He reads me the riot act, and he tells me up and down he's mad. He's like, rah, 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 fix it. A full bird, another guy comes in, and he's his superior. He's got a full bird insignia as his rank symbol, and he basically tells the 4-star general to fuck off, and he can't fix it. It's not a fixable problem at this time. I realized at that moment the Army was not for me. It was not something that I could handle. I couldn't handle incompetent people jumping my ass for something that was not within my control. It made me realize that I had this idea of the military being this great organized organization when it's just people. It's not, there's a lot of pomp and circumstance in the Army, and you think that you hear the term military intelligence. Well, let me tell you, it's just people. It's just people doing things. So I was vindicated by a full bird colonel while doing my job. Pardon me, I have to look away because there's traffic. I'm driving in traffic and I don't want to die. And it would be good if I didn't die. Dying is bad. Dying means you can't enjoy any more life. And that's what we need to do. We need to enjoy life. I'm at the red light and I can't go nowhere. I'm going to make a break for it. All right. Probably shouldn't have gone there. So I was vindicated by a full bird colonel doing my job. I explained that I couldn't fix it. It was a hot mic. It's outside of my area. I can't fix it from here. The 4-star general laid into me and just gave me what for and just bitched me up and down. And I told him it's not a problem that I can solve. And I was vindicated by a full bird colonel. And I felt pretty good that day. And then it changed my mind about the military. It made me realize that this is just it's not a great thing to be. It's not the people who are brainiac people are not always the ones at the top who wear silver insignia and who have risen through the ranks via time or I don't even know what. But I stayed in the military for too many years, and as soon as I was given the opportunity to, I got back to civilian life. Needless to say, I did not qualify for the GI Bill, and my hopes of going to college and learning computers was dashed. That's not the path that I followed, so I had to become an autodidact. I came back and I voraciously taught myself programming languages. I got myself a job at Radio Shack. I learned they had invented this thing called the internet. I learned how to do HTML in 24 hours by going onto this service called what was it called? I can't remember. I'll put a link to here. What it was called. It was one of the very first. I think it was called Netcom. I think Netcom was the name of the very first internet service that was in our area. I lived in Tampa, Florida at the time. And in Tampa, Florida, I worked at the Radio Shack, and we gave away these free discs so you could connect to this service called Netcom. And this was the beginning of the internet for me. So I discovered that they had these web pages, and I'm like, wow, that's neat. How do they do that? So I taught myself HTML by reverse engineering the source code of the web pages that I saw. And I learned to teach myself by reverse engineering things that I found in the world. And I realized that it's not good for me to be a person who is under other people who are not as technically savvy as I am. So this has been the story about the hot mic and the full bird colonel. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day.